chance to make it 28-3. Arthur Blank loving it. Up by 25. Toss to White. He's in! What a comeback!
And welcome back to another episode of the 28-3 podcast. Today, let's talk schedule.
Yeah.
2024 schedule has been released.
The long-awaited NFL schedule release came without any leaks at all. Nobody knew until they had the TV special. Obviously, that's completely false, but it's that time of year where people love to lean into the speculation, and we're no exception.
Dude, it is infuriating how they drag it out as long as possible just to,
Because they know. I mean,
God,
the schedule makers are probably working on it this second. They know where teams fall. The first, because, depends if you're first place, second place in the division. So once they know the division rankings, they can get to work on it. But yeah, it's an interesting release. Like last year, our opponent strength of record is second to last. Maybe we're tied with the Falcons in terms of the quote-unquote easiest schedule based on the opponent's win percentage from last year. We touched on that topic around this time last year, where it's kind of like, you could see that, and sure, it's an indicator to an extent, but it's the NFL. So
I don't think it is anyway. We should talk about that a little bit more, because I know that's been the general theme of what everybody's saying about how easy the schedule is. If you just take the Panthers off our schedule, we jump into the top 12 most difficult schedules just by doing that.
The NFC South is the only reason we're anywhere close to what's called an easy schedule.
Right. This is not an easy schedule. So we can call it, you can call it because of the percentages, but literally when you have a one-win team twice on your schedule, you have 2 easy games and 15 very competitive games outside of that. Yeah. This is not just loaded with bad teams this year. I think last year was a little bit more, but the same thing. If you take out those 2 games out of our schedule last year, it falls well closer to the middle than it does the easiest schedule in the league. So you benefit from one horrible team on your schedule twice and kind of throw those numbers off. So you got to kind of take that into consideration. Back to how we addressed it last year when we were all talking about this, I said the first thing you look at is quarterbacks.
Yep. I was just about to say, yep.
This year, there is no doubt over half of these games we are at a quarterback disadvantage.
Yeah. I mean, the quarterback list off the bat is markedly different, meaning we go up against a markedly tougher list of quarterbacks this year than we did last year. And I think, honestly, some of the, down QB play of the other teams on our schedule last year was the only reason we were in and won the games that we did.
We caught such a high number of rookies or backups at quarterback last year, which has never happened. It never once happened with Drew Brees, which is what drives me crazy. Yeah. I know, you guys probably feel the same way. If Brees would have gotten this schedule, in 2018, 2019,
either of them,
my God, we would have gone.
If you'd have given Brees this division,
man.
the whole thing, it'd be
right.
a different story.
Yeah, the timing of it. Like Brady coming in during Brees' last years, it's like he was already fucking with him with, when they were trying to get Jimmy the record over Gronk, and then later on when Brees has the passing record, a touchdowns record, and Brady's like, no, I'm going to hang around a little bit longer and just squash those. It's like, Brees got no breaks,
Well, let's do this. We'll go through and do a preliminary, whether we feel we're going to win or lose the game. But before we do that, does anything stand out about the schedule? Okay, I'll start off with this.
Yep.
We have 5 division games before the bye.
Yeah.
Which is kind of crazy. They had been making a push to have all the division games like the last couple of weeks of the season just to keep things interesting. It's very strange that we have 5 of our division games before, it looks like, November 17th. So that's kind of crazy.
The other thing I would say that is that as well, that's your first 11 weeks, right?
Yeah.
The fan base could have given up by week 6 this year.
Yeah, you talked about that offline. I agree with you completely, man. This is
if you go 2-3, you succeeded, I think, in the first 5 games. This is difficult. 3 road games at Dallas, at Atlanta, division, at KC, then at home Eagles, And yes, you get the Panthers first. Theoretically, I mean, you have to win that game.
You have
essentially.
have to.
If you just win one of those next 4, I think you did okay coming out of that first 5. But this is a brutal start to a schedule. It's as hard as it can get.
I think
And that Denver game, that's a must-win.
Yep.
I mean, look, it's an AFC game, so people might say, that's not going to matter as much. But the reality is Sean Payton's going to come in looking for blood.
And honestly,
I promise you.
it's something that a lot of people aren't talking about, but the way the NFL schedule making works, every division is paired up against another NFC division and another AFC division, and who you play out of that division is based on where you finished in your own division. So last year, while it benefited us from a win-loss standpoint that the NFC South was down, it also kind of works against us for a schedule-making perspective because we finished second in the division. We were hoping to finish first, obviously, but because the division was so down, now we have a second-place schedule in a year where we're not, we're coming off a year that doesn't make us feel all warm and fuzzy inside, right? So you're playing teams like the Chiefs. You're playing teams like, you're playing the NFC East anyway, but those and the first or second place, games that come in, they're not that many of them in number, but it just kind of throws it in that the teams you do have to face that are not already predestined are that much harder.
Yeah, and to Nick's point, I think by the 7th game of the season, we're going to know the season might be over at that point.
Yeah.
It really might be.
That opening stretch,
Imagine if you have a losing record going against the Broncos at home on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah.
And let's just say they come in and they beat us. It's going to be doom and gloom around the city.
And let's back to that first 7 weeks. Look what they did to us for games 5, 6, 7. Monday Night Football, Sunday, Thursday. Short week.
Jesus.
This is not a good schedule.
No, it's not.
Anyone who says it's one of the easiest schedules this career, you're not looking at it.
It's the opposite of last year's schedule.
Yeah.
Well, it's you mentioned it. This schedule just screams to me that the first half dictates the season. Usually you talk about the schedule being split up against the bye week. Yet again we have a shout out to Dan for yet again. We have a bye week that comes on later in the year because I believe last year's was late too, right?
No, it was early last year.
Was it early last year?
Yeah. I like the late bye.
Well, late is better.
Late is better.
Well, my point is when it's either really early or really late, there's that much of your schedule where you can't necessarily take a break to get over that injury bug. I think right smack dab in the middle helps because you have time to get guys over injuries. So the only reason I bring that up is because this schedule just dictates that we cannot start slow, and like you said, if we do, we're toast. And it is because you've got Dallas, Philly, KC in the first 5 weeks, but then Tampa always, like, we seem to do worse against them at home recently. But I'll say this before, and y'all jump back in. But talking about the division, last year, the division, the lack of the strength in the division was seen as a benefit, seen as kind of like a added bonus to what was already a weak schedule. Like, before the season started, we were thinking optimistically that we've got all this talent. We got Carr, before we saw what Carr was, at least in the first half of the year or more. And we were thinking, look, if Carr just does decent, our schedule's weak enough, we can rack up some wins. Our division's down. That's an added bonus. We could really position ourselves well for the playoffs. This year, the division, it's not a bonus, it's a must. You have to win the division games this year because outside of that, it's rough.
Well, I mean, that applies every season. You have to win your division games. That's just the reality of the NFL. I looked it up. Last year, our bye week was in week 11. This year, it's in week 12.
Yeah.
To me, that's the one favorable thing about the schedule is the bye week being at week 12.
I see it as a negative, but
I want it in the second half of the year, but even further back.
Really?
You don't want it early, man. There's no injuries to recover from.
Not like, I don't like the week 4, week 5 bye, but like 9, week 8, week 9, even week 10. It's just kind of a natural point where the injuries have started to happen. Definitely by then. Here, it's like, you're gonna.
The later it is, the better for your playoff push prospects. Now, here's the deal: we might not even be anywhere near the playoff conversation at this point in week 12. But look at last year. the Saints right around the bye week. That's when they kind of found their stride and they started looking like a competent offense. And they did pretty well to close out the season. So to me, the later the bye, the better.
Yeah.
I think week 11, 12, 13, that's the sweet spot. That's where I want to be with a bye week every year. So that's the one thing I'm happy about with the schedule.
Yeah.
Other than that, man, this is, Carolina looks like a gimme at home, but man, it's not.
You're using it as a negative, getting the division games, but there's a lot of Carolina in turnover, right? Massive turnover.
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta, big changes. Catching them early is going to be better than catching them later, I think. New coach, new quarterback. Tampa lost a lot on defense. Maybe it takes them a little while to get that straight for them. I'm okay with it.
I didn't want to paint it as a negative. It just stood out to me. It just was unusual.
I don't know why they usually don't. Like you said, they like to back end a lot of those games, so they fight it out down the stretch, much like last year where we went and beat Tampa and then had to wait to see if we could get in. We do play them last game of the season this year, so that's, we'll see if that means anything. But let's talk quick about the quarterbacks real quick, because Corey alluded to it. This year, vastly different. Dak, Hurts, Cousins twice, Mahomes, Herbert, Stafford, Love. All those are a quarterback advantage for the other team, for sure, right? And that's 7 games?
Yeah. I mean,
2,
that's
4, 6. That's 8 games.
Yeah.
Then the mid-level guys that I think we were back and forth of who's better than Carr, not better than Carr when we did that episode. Who knows what Jaden Daniels is? Deshaun Watson's on there, and then Baker twice. Wherever you put them, we're going to at least call that an even quarterback matchup across that board. So now you're talking we might have a quarterback advantage in 5 or 6 games only, and that's if Bryce Young doesn't take a jump or – we all know Daniel Jones will not take a jump, but
he's the only one I feel certain that is not going to have any kind of improvement.
Yeah,
right.
And maybe we'll even get them in those terrible uniforms they posted.
Yeah, I like those uniforms. You liked them too?
Yeah,
huh?
I thought they were cool.
I think I like them.
Yeah,
we're old though. Remember that, Corey? So
that's right. Y'all might remember the last time.
Reminds us of childhood. So, then you're looking at where the clear advantage is. Bryce Young. If he's the same player and not making a jump, you probably have an advantage on Daniel Jones. Raiders situation, it could be either of those guys by that point in the season. Who knows? We've got an advantage there. And then there's something to the other ones, like Bo Nix. We don't know what Bo Nix is, and it's a Peyton revenge game, but that's a huge game.
Yeah.
So it's not like you get a layup quarterback and see what happens. This is very difficult, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I think last year we came up with 4 that we thought were better, and then, like Max said, I think a couple of them ended up being hurt, and we didn't even face a couple of them.
Yeah.
And we played the best player in the game.
Yeah.
In Week 5. So.
The lack of offensive productivity was, I don't want to ever say it was admissible or permissible, but the lack of experience and quality on the other side at the QB position allowed for wins to come during a time when the offense was not clicking. You weren't always, or you were rarely put in a position where you had to outscore the other team because they were able to move the ball fluidly down the field. And when we went up against teams that could, it was terrible. I mean, C.J. Stroud, one example. Trevor Lawrence for most of that game. The Lions to an extent, and that's really some of the best QBs you went up against last year. And
to be fair, we probably underestimated all of those QBs. Jordan Love as well.
We did
in previewing them, and right. Jordan Love being another one with the comeback. But this year, if you're not clicking on offense, I mean, there's potential, if not likelihood, that they're not going to hit the brakes on the way by.
Well, let's do this. Let's go ahead and go through the schedule week by week and kind of give, I guess, our preliminary thoughts. Win or loss.
Yeah, and again,
no need to record this really because we're going to do this again after training camp.
Well, we'll do what we did last year, where we didn't break down every single game after the schedule release. We did this exercise.
Yeah, let's do this short and sweet. No need to drag it out. We don't know enough about the other teams yet, or even our team, given that training camp isn't even a month away.
So we had, last year was a different kind of offseason because we were bellowing with optimism. And,
Corey, did you go back and see what we actually predicted in May?
Let me send the screenshot.
We ended 9-8. How far off were we from that?
We were way off.
The final projections, we were way off. I know that.
Well, no, but we did that initial one,
Right.
and it was. I think you were the closest. No, yeah, but it was 13-4 for me, 14-5. 14 and what's that?
3.
I can't read your handwriting. I guess it would be 3. Yeah.
Those were the final predictions, I thought.
This was on May 30th.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. 14-3 for Max, 11-6 for Nick. I didn't pull up our final ones, but about a year ago, this is the exercise we did. Just went quick.
I know the final ones we went kind of crazy on it, but I remember saying we're going to get to 11 wins one way or the other. I don't know how it's going to happen, but either way, we were way off. All right, let's start off. Carolina, Corey, what you got?
Win.
That was quick.
I thought about that one. You're always ready for the first game. You start prepping that one in training camp, right? Where's the schedule?
Okay, so Corey says win. Nick, what you got?
Yeah, I'm gonna say win on that.
I'm going to say win. This one scares me a little bit because in the NFL in weeks 1 and 2, that's when the weird shit happens. And There's always some random team that no one expected to do anything, starts off 2-0, and then they just fizzle out and finish like 4 and whatever. And then there's a team that you're expecting to be good, and they might start off 0-1, 0-2. So not quite a gimme, but I'm going to call it a win. I'm not as confident as I normally would be in it, but we'll call it a win. So that's 3 wins.
And I'll say this, yes, I like what you said. It's not a gimme. I don't think it's a gimme. I think we win, but I don't think it's a gimme. And
it feels like a dogfight.
I'm going to reference our one of our Saints beat reporters. Don't worry, Max, you're going to get about Jeff Duncan. This isn't disparaging him. I would just respectfully like to ask that he maybe pull down his tweet about the Saints are going to start off. He said like the Saints starting off with a win week 1. Like he said it so confidently. It wasn't. It could have been Jeff. It could have been anybody. I was like, oh, you don't put that out there. Like, don't just just not good juju to just be like, here we go. So we're gonna need some reverse jinxism on that one. But,
well, this is preliminary. So all right. So let's move on to at Dallas, week 2. Corey,
I got to go loss. Maybe I'm thinking, again, we're not breaking it down.
We're not breaking it down.
I got to go loss.
Just, Nick, what you got?
That's a loss for sure.
Yeah, I'm going L.
Yeah. The only thing making me think win is because it's the Cowboys, and they do, speaking of stupid shit early in the year, they have some head-scratching games early in the year.
There's continuity at quarterback. Right. There's continuity
coaching.
At coach.
Oh, yeah.
But it's the same team, except
it's the same team.
They should absolutely win.
They should be ready early in the season.
I feel like Micah Parsons is going to wreak havoc. All right, so let's move on to Philadelphia, week 3, at home, in the Dome. What you got, Corey?
It's a loss.
Yeah, I think it's a loss too. Again, they've been playing together for 2 full years now with that whole roster, and it's only gotten better. I don't see how we will be ready for that week 3.
Yeah, I'm going to go loss as well. Until proven otherwise, we cannot defend a mobile, athletic quarterback. So to me, that's an easy L. All right, let's move on to week 4 at Atlanta.
Win. I predicted loss in Atlanta last year. Not doing it again.
Yeah, I was right. I thought for sure y'all both picking loss. I'm picking win there.
I'm going
too.
win.
No, I'm going win. I think Nick made a good point. New system in Atlanta. It's only week 4. People don't really play their starters as much in the preseason as they used to. It feels like they might still be trying to figure things out. And if we can slow down Bijan, I think we can come away with a win.
Yeah, and I think people talk about the Kirk Cousins factor where his numbers against us. Someone was reading off his numbers against the Saints. It's absurd, but with all the but that's him with people he knows.
Yeah.
So
also with much better players. Let's be honest. Like I know they have a lot of talent on offense, but they don't have a lot of people other than Bijan who've proven it. We can talk about Pitts and London, but they haven't done anything. I know they've had bad quarterback
at this point.
All potential still, and. Yeah. I'm not blaming them because we know their quarterback situation, but you can't say they're something without them ever doing it.
No question they have talented players, but they haven't played to their talent.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, yeah. So
now let's move on to...
We can skip this
Monday Night Football. Dun, 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 dun. Loss.
Yeah.
This is where we lose the fans, by the way, because we're losing this one by 20. Right.
Well, I don't know. Hold on. Okay, no. I will disagree on that because if you lose to the defending champs who are going to be, barring injury, the same defending champs, like you're supposed to lose the defending champs. I think you lose the fans on a game you're not supposed to win.
In prime time, on TV for everybody to see, and we get rolled out the building.
If we get rolled out the building,
nuts.
But we're probably going to, if we go into that 2-3 at best, or even if we go in 3-2, like we're going to be expected to roll. I think we lose the fans if we don't win the next game at home versus the Bucks.
I think DA is going to have a better game plan for Mahomes than people expect. I don't think it's going to be a boat racing, but I do think we do lose. We'll get into the
They aren't loaded
later.
with the one thing that was masked by the Super Bowl, which that masks everything, is that offense was not very dynamic this year, but the defense was.
Yeah.
So you got to take that. You give Mahomes an elite defense, that's just frightening. And it's at KC.
Yeah, no. Look, we're all saying L. I think that's all we need to do at this one.
Yeah, it's hard not to break them down.
Right. All right, so let's move on to the next game, Tampa Bay at home. Corey?
Win.
I'm saying win mainly because I think Tampa takes a nosedive this year. I think they drastically overachieved.
I'm going to say win as well.
Okay, so we are at what's our record now?
No. Don't tally. Don't even let him see.
I always like to peek.
Yeah,
right.
no. All right, so let's move on to me, the biggest game of the season, Thursday Night Football, Denver at home, Sean Payton's return. What you got, Corey? You go first.
I don't like it, but we're not going to win this one. Sean's just turns into a different dude. Until, again, it's like you said about our offense. Until proven otherwise, Sean Payton's a guy, expert, motivator, historically, bags of tricks, you name it. Loves to.
There will be shenanigans.
Loves to take pisses on his old coaches. I'll never forget the Rams game where Greg Williams was on the other side. I think it was 2018, 2017. And it just those images of Peyton just looking to the other sideline and fist pumping, and it's going to be a lot of that. Hopefully not. Hopefully it's not a bad score, but I think
to me the score doesn't matter. A loss in that game is just catastrophic.
It's going to.
Yeah. Nick, what you got?
We're winning that game, and it's going to be because Sean tries to do exactly what y'all are talking about.
Okay.
And he doesn't have the team to do it right now. I'm sorry. It's different when you have the team.
True.
He's got Bo Nix
Good
and trading away good players, and I don't know. I don't know what he's doing with them. Maybe he's got a master plan. Maybe I'll be completely wrong, but it looks like they're trying to full reboot right now. And like you said, I think he's going to come with the ego, and he's going to try the tricks. He'll try something. It'll be all of that.
There's going to be posters in the facility of the Broncos and all that movies they're going to watch. Who knows? But I think he's even going to tell a lot of entrenched starters that, hey, if you fuck this game up for us, you're not starting. Like it's going to be
and that's. I'm not saying they're losing because of Peyton. I think they're losing because of Bo Nix, because I thought that was a leap, and I just don't think he has the team. I do think he's going to try all the things you're talking about.
So far we're split on that one. Or Matt, what did you give it when it lost?
No, man, I'm torn on this one. I keep going back and forth. Part of me thinks back to what Peyton did in 2006, going back into Dallas. And Mike Carney had the multiple touchdown game.
He always crushes his former teams.
Or
former coaches.
I'm going with the Broncos. You pick on the better coach. You pick the better coach at this point.
Yeah.
Look,
their team could be in shambles too going in. It could be like,
they could be. And look, I don't think it's going to be.
Do you like what they've done? Let's just start there. Do you like what they've done?
Look, I'm not a Bo Nix fan, so I don't love that pick.
Just across the board, even outside of that.
Across the board,
Trading Judy.
Yeah, I think Judy's their version of Olave in that he's not as good as the fucking fan base wants him to be. And I don't have a problem with them trading Judy. I like a lot of the people they picked. They got some good players. They're a year away, though, before they can do anything, I think.
It's rebuild mode.
But, for us, we're not exactly a juggernaut. Our offensive line right now scares the shit out of me. So I feel like
we don't know what we are until we put pads on.
Yeah, exactly.
And we still won't know what we are.
And look, my mind might change tomorrow. It might change next week. It might change 5 times before we do the official prediction. But for right now, I'm going with Denver.
Your mind is absolutely going to change more than 5 times between now and the predictions. Knowing you.
Okay, so let's see. Next game at Chargers.
Yeah, loss.
Good. You learned something from last year.
Hey.
Loss.
Yeah, going to LA. And in the Harbaugh, they can control the clock.
To me, it's quarterback.
Correct.
It's the
It's
quarterback
and
substantially
coach
better.
and quarterback. That coach is going to change that team.
That's going to be a game where you look up at the clock and say, wait, where the fuck did the game go?
Yeah.
Like, there's 3 minutes left in the half. How did that happen?
So we're all saying loss.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Next week is at Carolina.
I'm going win. I think we get both of them against them this year. Just
I do too.
Again,
They're
not
good.
not because they're gimmies like last year, but I just think we do it.
That's a bad team. I'm going with loss. That's
a team that's stripped down to the bone and hasn't.
They have nothing that scares you right now.
Well, because
they just don't.
They invested everything around Bryce, and so if he doesn't pan out,
But they didn't even do that
they
well.
didn't invest anything around.
they added O-line, they added
This year they gave
running
him
back.
a few things, but
They're trying to give more, but it's not like they added any.
Listen,
Deontay Johnson from Pittsburgh, sure, but like they didn't add any world beater, game changing playmaker.
when you trade all that to get him,
And their
you
defense
can't build around him.
Yeah.
That's part of the deal.
and their defense is getting worse now. You know,
Yes.
they've lost a lot of key pieces on defense. So
they didn't give him anything last year, and this year they're giving him like a little bit, but it's still
it's
not.
not.
They're
Yeah,
a bad team.
yeah. So anyway,
I say win as well. Nick, you said win.
Yeah.
All right. So the next week, Atlanta at home.
win.
I think this is the game.
Win,
I think
28-3
I think we
Saints.
lose this one.
I think we do too. I'm going L. We're splitting with Atlanta.
My gut tells me to say L, but I don't want to listen to it right now.
Well,
It's the first prediction. So
this
I
is
have-
the stretch where we lose the season, in my opinion. So
yeah, to me it's an L only for the fact that I think we split with them, and I gave us a win in the first game against them, so I'm giving us a loss here.
and this is week 10 of that offense. Kirk Cousins
Yeah.
will have it playing well. Now he always has that game in him where he could just not show up, but
But he also
know,
has that game in him where he passes for 4,000 yards.
15 out of 17 games he puts up great numbers. I mean that's what he's done the last
And
5
he
years.
hasn't yet to have a bad game against
All right, so
us.
Corey said win, and you and I said loss, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to
We're gonna win.
Cleveland Browns.
We're gonna win with a Jamal Williams touchdown in that game.
Okay, calm
Hopefully
down.
Jamal won't be on the team at that point, but we'll see. Cleveland Browns, Corey, what you got?
Loss.
At home?
Losing.
I agree. Loss. They're a way better team than us.
Their defense
Yeah.
is stupid.
Somehow Jameis is starting that game.
Oh yeah. Oh, he's gonna kneel on the ball.
Yeah, so I'm saying loss as well. That's a playoff team last year with multiple quarterbacks. They played, like 3 or 4 quarterbacks last year.
Yeah.
Got to the playoffs with the corpse of Joe Flacco. So, yeah, loss. All right, then we got our bye week, and then we move on to the Rams at home.
Win.
I'm gonna say win too. I think that's a revenge game.
Bye week. Time to prepare for McVay. They probably prepared for a whole 6 hours for the last game. And yeah.
I agree. I'm going to go win. I think given the full extra week to prepare is going to make the
Them
difference.
traveling here is different than now. Of course, we had to go on a Thursday, which totally gave us no chance of winning that.
We said it last year, which kind of backfired against us, but with Stafford, you never know. You know, like we got good Stafford last year, wasn't quite injured, but you know, any given year with him, he could be injured, could be Stetson Bennett back there, comeback of the year.
Yeah.
You better hope he's out of rehab and actually makes the team.
He's probably the most sober dude on their team at this point, to be honest.
Yeah. So, all right, following week at New York Giants. Daniel Jones.
I got to go win with that one. Kind of to Nick's point, just doesn't seem like as good of a team as us, especially down Saquon. That was their only threat, our only thing we had to worry about last year. So
They got
win.
neighbors.
Leave
That's their only
Neighbors now.
weapon.
Jalen Hyatt the year before.
They got to, but
And-
the ball's got to get to him.
Yeah, that it boils down to the
I
quarterback.
agree. I think this team is not as good as us. So I'm taking the Saints, even though it's on the road.
Yeah.
Neighbors doesn't even know the name of his quarterback.
I'm saying win as well.
I don't know if you saw that press conference. He called him like
Because he knows he won't be his quarterback next year.
Exactly.
called him like Daniel Johnson or Daniel Dones or something.
All right, so let's move on to
Well, that's
Washington.
the LSU education more than anything.
Man, Flagship State University. Come on.
Washington Commanders at home.
Oy. This one's gonna be one of those. I'm going loss, because we always have games we're supposed to win but don't. That's good.
Jaden Daniels coming back, but I think we win that one.
I'm going loss.
Yeah.
Same reasoning why I say we lose the Eagles game. Until we prove we can stop a mobile quarterback, I'm taking the mobile quarterback over us every time. So I
Fair.
say loss. Next week at Green Bay, December 23rd, 7:15 p.m. Weather should be a factor at that point.
Yeah, factor as in frozen. We can go with the surprise win.
Oh wow,
I'd already marked your loss. I just
Yeah.
saw it in your eyes.
what you got, Nick?
I got lost for sure. In that
I got
one.
loss for sure as well. Quarterback matchup.
I'm not as high on him as you guys, but that's a pretty good football team right now.
Yeah, it is.
Y'all know I love their running back, not named Aaron Jones. C.J. Dillon. Is it C.J.? Whatever it is.
AJ.
There you go.
A.J. Dillon. Something J. Dillon.
All right, so I got loss, you got loss, Corey's got win, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Got unfinished business in Lambeau.
I like it. Another revenge game.
Yeah.
Following week, speaking of revenge games, Las Vegas Raiders at home, Derek Carr revenge game.
We're winning that game.
I agree.
I agree.
All right.
Carr might throw like 3 interceptions because he can't calm down, but we're going to find a way to win.
Carr doesn't throw a lot of interceptions, though, man.
I'm saying
That's
because
not
he's
his-
right. So because he's going to be jacked up, he might, get a little too whatever. But yeah, I think win.
Yeah, we all say win there. Okay, week 18, it's going to be at Tampa Bay.
Loss.
Yeah, I'm going loss too, mainly because, again, I think we split with Tampa and Atlanta, and I think we beat Carolina twice. I think we go 4-2 in the division. Whether that'll be the best or second best record in the division, that's what we'll wait to see. I don't think anyone in our division's going 12 wins this year, so
That would be shocking.
this is probably going to be a big game. I don't know where we have us right now. I think it's probably a big game. I think we lose it because we won the first one.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I think we split with Atlanta, split with Tampa, sweep Carolina. So yeah,
Yeah, because we're not breaking them down in my head.
you
I'm
had
like,
an L? Or-
I had L for Tampa. Yeah, the last
what's the final tally?
because in my head I'm thinking I don't know. This is probably going to crush our season wherever my total's at. But spade to spade. I think it's I think are we all the same?
It's getting close.
Max has a 7-10. Mr. Super Bowl last year has a 7-10.
Oh, I thought that was yours, the lowest. Okay, because you were the
Corey and I both had 9 and 8. Max has 7 and 10.
All right.
Yeah, so that's going to be like the same thing as last year, where the last game is for.
I think
Or
probably
no, we would have already had 9 wins before the last game under our scenario.
Right.
Our scenario being
You and I would have had that basically probably mean a playoff appearance with a win, and we both picked loss.
and we don't.
Yeah, I'll just 7 and 10. I'm glad that that's what it came out for me because that's kind of where I feel we're going to be. It just feels like a year where we're not going to be in play for the playoffs, and I think that it's another rebuilding year, and I think Da is going to be back in 2025.
He probably will. He probably should be. Why waste money on a coach if you're going through this rebuild?
Yeah, like they're looking at this as a rebuild. That's what
Yeah.
this is. This is the rebuild, without stripping it down.
And without actually saying rebuild.
You do have some young talent that tells you not to go full blow it up. You could, but when you've got a number of players, as bad as our offensive line is, the perennial starters are all 25 years old and under.
Yeah.
Olave's under 25. Both other receivers are 25 and 23.
24.
Just drafted Kendre. He's 23.
He's 21, bro.
21.
He's super young.
There's a lot of
So
Look, the last 2 drafts have been very promising in my eyes. I love what they did in both of them. It seems like foundational drafts where you covered a lot of bases. And if anything happens with Rattler, you really might be looking back on that draft as something special.
Yeah, and depending on how Kubiak does, if you give him 2 successful years where it wasn't the offense, it was like the head coaching or the defense, then that puts him in position to be a candidate.
Yeah, and I'll go ahead and wrap it up with this. I think that anyone who thinks that DA is gone with a losing record is out of their minds. They are. You can see the way the moves are going. With
gotta be-
Kubiak coming in,
It has
he's
to look
getting
bad.
2 more years.
It's gotta be real bad.
it has to look really bad.
It would have to be 1-16, 2-15, one of those kind of.
He would have to also blow a couple games on his own with time management type of situations.
But when they brought in Kubiak, they bought DA another 2 years. Mm-hmm. So.
Well, he did turn everything over on offense to him, so
Yeah.
you give him credit for stepping back with any, it seems like he has 0 imprint on the offense right now.
Which is the way it should be.
Yeah.
So before we get out of here, any closing thoughts on the schedule, or I think we covered everything?
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning, you can't, look, Sean Payton went 0-4 twice. Shit like that can't happen this year. If it does, that's when things could go real sideways.
I do worry about that. I'm not necessarily with Max in that it would take a 1 or 2 win season to get rid of DA.
I think it takes 4 or less.
If
4
we
or
come
less.
out and just get beaten and this schedule lends itself to possibly that happening, let's say you get to week 7 against Denver and we're 1-6, and
Oh, yeah, he's getting fired at
and
that
Peyton
point.
just rolled us. Or I see a scenario
gonna
where
be tough to
But
come
if
back
you're at
from.
1-6 going into that game, that team's going 1-16 or 2.
I think that's the toughest part of our schedule. I disagree.
No, it is. But at that point, the locker room's gone. If you start 1-6 and you get blown out to Peyton,
The
it's
fans
over.
are gone. I don't know.
That's
the
what
locker
we
room's
said
gone.
because we've always said last year's and has DA lost the team, and it's like the team, like DA may not have the team, but the team is so strong. Like the guys themselves were playing for each other, so that's going to be hard to break. Like the maturity of the guys we do have is going to be hard to break.
If it's 1-6, they'll break.
But that's what I'm saying. Even anything could break.
I don't think they get to that point. I think they'll somehow squeak out a win or two that they shouldn't and keep it, close enough to where he sticks around another year.
Let's put it this way: they're only going to be favored in one game out of the first 5.
Yeah,
Carolina. That's it. They are underdogs in the other 4.
It's
They're
the
supposed
three-
to lose the other 4.
The 3 non-division teams are the first 5 that stand out for me.
They're only like a 3.5 point favorite over Carolina, which
I know.
is crazy.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's
they
nuts.
just don't want to give it to because you got 3 teams who one won the Super Bowl and the other 2 were predicted to at some point last year. So that's just tough. But anyway, we'll see.
Well, cool. We'll go ahead and wrap this one up. Thanks for listening to another episode of the 28 to 3 podcast. Who dat?
Boom.